There it is. Alrighty. Joining me from the polar opposite end of the earth at the opposite end of the day, I'm sure, and with completely different weather, we have Nick from Danish post black metal, progressive, alternative metal, you name it, legends, Mjol. How are you, my
Thank
friend?
you very much. Very, very good. Cold, but that's just this time of year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got the heating on there? You're not looking too wrapped up.
No, it's not too bad. We've got the heating on and
Yep.
the fireplace is going downstairs, so everything is good. But we got a bit of frost on the windows, and yeah.
Ah, awesome.
So
Sounds so
yeah,
cozy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you and I would probably be wanting to swap at the moment because it's been bloody hot here and windy.
I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Can
So
imagine, yeah.
how are things going in the mole camp at the moment, mate? You guys are celebrating and new album release coming up very soon. You've just put out some new singles. It's all happening.
Yeah, we're very excited. I'm very excited. It's been a long road. We recorded most of this record during the autumn or the fall of 2024. Yeah, so we've been looking forward to it with great anticipation, and yeah, so it's we're sort of getting near the sort of the end, the finish line.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been really interesting to sort of get the singles out there and getting some of the first reviews in.
Mm,
So sort of starting to get an idea of what do people think about
mm,
it. So we've been going with it, just for ourselves and the people around us, and
yeah.
so getting it out into the world is it's
Mm.
exciting.
Mm. And what's your take on the feedback so far? Because even for me, with a cursory glance around the net, like places like YouTube, for instance, like even the comment section on your singles, like the reception's been really positive so far from what I've seen.
Yeah, me too. I never really know what to expect, or I haven't expected anything, when we released your
Mm,
or Diorama. And the same thing here. We were also a bit nervous about what people think. But yeah, it's been overwhelming. And yeah, just very grateful that I can write some guitar stuff and people want to listen to it. Yeah, around the world as well. So
yeah.
not just in little Denmark. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
overwhelmed and humbled, I think is yeah, my take on it.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you guys are stoked on it. And I guess I'll give you my Cliff Notes take on the album, having been lucky enough. I mean, this is an unpaid gig, but that's one of the perks is some advanced listens. I'm really liking it. I'm really enjoying it. For me, especially with the introduction of like the new vocal styles and just some changes in the production, um, this is a very broad strokes, but I feel like there's a bit of a not in a way that's derivative of it, but I do feel like there's a bit of a Deftones layer to the sound now, in terms of it
Yeah.
being like even more textured. I don't know if that's your take, but just walk us through, I guess, from a guitarist perspective, what the songwriting process was like. What was different this time around for you as a guitarist?
I'm glad to hear the Deftones reference. It's also one of my favorite bands, and I think
Yeah.
many in the sort of metal scene, and also I think what they're doing also in bringing sort of shoegaze and sort of post metal elements into their sound is really unique, and yeah, so I'm very fond of them. Um, and that's always sort of layering has always been kind of my approach to it, rather than necessarily writing a sick riff, rather than making it sound big.
Mm,
It's always sort of what I'm striving for. So it's not just things can be linear, but that the music also has depth to it.
mm,
And that's kind of sort of my approach, that you can. It's not just yeah, riffs happening over time, but there's also you can, like, if you listen for it, you can sense something. You can maybe find something after multiple listens. There's always some of the things that I'm trying to work out. So that also ends up being a lot of guitar tracks, and making it sound big, and yeah. So a lot of work goes into to that, both in the sort of the demoing stages, writing stuff, and also
Mm,
in the studio.
mm,
But that's kind of what I enjoy with regards
mm.
to composing and writing music.
Mm. So in terms of the are you multi-tracking your guitar tracks on your end too, just trying to sort of layer in those harmonies, that kind of thing? I've always noticed that definitely with your guys' sound that you could have like a tremolo section, but it's never, people will say, first up, oh, it's post black metal, and I think that's for me, that's more on the basis of the vocals and the fact that there's a fair bit of tremolo in there. But you guys have a lot of melodic lead stuff going on,
Mm.
a lot of arpeggios and a lot of like lead harmonies, that sort of thing, which has always been a big element of your sound. Is that a method of songwriting you've always been sort of attracted to, or has something come up prior to Mole or in recent history that's sort of influenced that, or?
With regards to sort of the melodic approach,
Mm, mm,
yeah. Um, I've sort of my schooling in music has not really been metal in sort of that was I'm kind of a late
mm,
bloomer in that sense,
mm,
going into metal, and that was only with I think some of the first Alcest records, maybe even the first. Other than that, I was kind of a shoegaze, alternative rock kind of
mm.
guy, and there is this Danish band called Mew, if you know them.
Oh, yep,
Um,
yep.
yeah,
Great band,
so
yeah.
yeah, they were kind of the reason that I picked up the guitar, and I've always been kind of intrigued by their sort of their their melodies because they kind of have it's difficult to say that whether they're happy or they're sad. They're sort of melancholic in a way, and that's always sort of
Yeah.
kind of the things that kind of strike a nerve with me and something that I
Mm,
really enjoy.
mm,
So whenever I can sort of write a melody or come up with something that kind of hits that feeling, that's kind of what I'm going for.
mm. And in terms of the decisions with the new album, in terms of like some changes with the vocalist style, that sort of thing, did that impact your writing much, or not really, or how did that sort of new element kind of change things for the songwriting process?
I think I've been as Kim has kind of developed his instrument with regards to singing clean. I think I've been more kind of I haven't been as hesitant about stripping back the music and allowing his
Mm,
vocal to stand in front, because I think when it's screaming or harsh vocals, you kind of also want the rest of the music to be
yeah.
abrasive. And so in that sense, I've kind of dialed some of it a little bit back, because now then we can do cleaner stuff and draw on some of the other inspirations that I really enjoy in shoegaze as well.
Mm,
Um, so that's been, I think, a nice sort of tool to also be able to have in our music.
mm,
So in that sense, it's a yeah, it's a welcome tool, and I like to have more options that just going for blast beats and tremolo picking, and that's also cool. But yeah,
yeah.
it's nice to be able to have some polar opposites in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in terms of those two sorts of musical worlds meeting, I think I've already mentioned that, a lot of people would probably readily put you in like a post black metal, black gaze. Oh my God, how many different names for the
Yeah,
genre, atmospheric black metal, blah, blah, blah. Do you see yourselves as kind of sitting within that sound primarily, or what's your sort of feel on that? I mean, it's
I think
probably for you, it's just creating music you like, and it's a process. But yeah, I'm just interested to hear your take on that.
I think maybe in the earlier days it definitely was
Mm,
sort of more a thing, and but I think it's yeah, it's just about, for me it's just about combining and writing the music that I love, and
mm,
being lucky that other people like the stuff that I write. So in that sense, it's yeah, describing it as post black metal, I don't really think that sort of fits. Um, So I think something like alternative metal, shoegaze metal, we have also called it, but I don't really think that covers it either because it could be more shoegazy, I guess. So I think sort of an alternative approach to metal is something that is perhaps more descriptive, and that's also shoegaze metal, alternative metal is kind of the monikers that we've been going for ourselves. But again, it's not something that I sort of think about, because usually our approach to music is that we can, at least in the initial phase, we can always we can do whatever we want, basically, with regards to composing, and we don't really have a restraint in that sense, not in a sort of literal sense anyway, that we have kind of written down, but yeah.
And in terms of the actual, like going back a little bit to the songwriting process itself, once everything had been sort of like arranged and put together, and you know you'd felt out those like those new kind of creative directions, how was it working with oh god, as an Aussie I'm going to butcher the surname, sorry Danes everywhere, Frederick Ugelberg. How was your experience working with that producer for the
I think what you did a good job at pronouncing it. This was close enough, I think, for our purposes.
I'm just going to say Mole like an Aussie because I'll just butcher the name otherwise. But how was how's your experience with the actual studio production side of things?
It was a very good experience because previously for you and Diorama, it always been sort of it had been stressful experiences, in the sense that for you we had like I think maybe 5-6 days in the studio, and we had to go to Copenhagen and basically just nail everything as fast as possible. For this record, we opted for a more convenient solution in order not to strain ourselves, so we could relax more and be more creative, I guess, in the studio as well. So Frederik is a newer producer and engineer. So he has a studio actually at our rehearsal space in Aarhus. So basically we could just roll in the amps and the drum set and put on some mics and then go for it. So that was really nice, and he's been very accommodating. Also because we have day jobs as well, so doing it in the weekends and doing it in the evenings and so on. So he's been very sort of we'll figure it out. So he's been very good, and I also think the mixing and the mastering. I think his take as a younger producer and an engineer has also contributed to the sound. Since maybe it's more sort of, wouldn't necessarily say modern, but it's I think the soundscape is a bit more. It's definitely benefited from another approach than we've previously had.
I did think that when I was listening to the album. Actually, who came to mind when we're talking before about like multiple guitar tracks, like the production actually reminded me a lot of Devin Townsend, especially his solo output. And I guess props to Frederick, because it's quite a big and layered sound, and that's something that I've noticed about the album as a whole. Were you guys looking to sort of you kind of touched on this before, but using more negative space, like you mentioned, for the vocals? But was that kind of a decision as a whole of the band? Because I do feel there's still for those black metal heads who are at home who are worrying, don't worry, there's still heavy. It's still heavy. But those sort of more expansive moments, that kind of thing. How did that feel going in and recording in that way, like changing it up that way? Did that sort of shift the process, or?
I don't think not too much, because I always know what I want from the clean parts and the sort of atmospheric parts, and so I have a pretty good idea. And a lot of it, of course, is the amps, but also the effects that are going into to the amps, and those are usually just the pedals that I have at home that I just bring along. But of course, there's a lot of work with placing it in the soundscape and where he's probably also frequencies and adjusting and so
Mm.
on, where he's a lot more skilled than I would be in my home studio. So I think he kind of caught the ideas and kind of what we wanted intuitively, and then yeah, it was very, and also just the first couple of mix iterations were really close to what we wanted.
Mm.
So in that sense, I think it was a pleasure to work with him. But also when we come into the studio, usually we have almost complete demos as a reference.
Yeah.
So we can always say this is kind of the stuff that we want. But then for the guitar tone, we usually say, okay, we'll go for something that's more Deftonesy or
Yeah.
Devin Townsend,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like something like that,
Mm.
where we can kind of tweak the amps in the studio and fiddle around with the mic placements and so on. I hope that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. It sounds like you guys have done, you guys have done a lot of preparation. You mentioned, like doing your own tracking and stuff before. So it's probably, I'm guessing that, like just a relaxed vibe all round too for the recording of this studio. Like, sounds a lot less pressured on both ends, which is great.
Definitely, and that also meant that we could like take a break and come back after a couple of days and with clear heads and try something different, or that we could like maybe pursue an idea and then it wouldn't make sense, and then we just grab that idea and go back to the initial idea. So it's nice to have not that pressure hanging over your head when you're that you have to be done in 5 days and that you only have 3 days to track drums and 2 days for guitars and then 1 day for bass. So
A
that
line of
yeah.
pissed off guys in black shirts down the road waiting for
Yeah,
their turn to record, and you're thinking, oh god, I've got to squeeze it all in because I'm not getting another slot, sort of
exactly.
thing. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's good to hear that the recording process was a vibe and was good, and I feel like that's expressing itself in the album too. In terms of the live front, how are you feeling about the upcoming any of your upcoming shows, or just getting that new material out? What's the sort of feeling there?
yeah, it's something that we're definitely looking forward to. We have, of course, a tour lined up
Mm.
throughout Europe. Unfortunately, we can't go around the world just yet, but maybe someday that will be a dream. Um, but yeah, it's always well, it's also a process, just getting the stuff to work out in the rehearsal space and kind of ironing out and the playing together and yeah, understanding each other and we've been helped a great deal by just investing in in-ear setup so that we can hear each other better
Yeah.
on stage. So that's a real benefit. And but other than that, it's just great to get out there and see people and can hear what they think about the
Mm.
music. I think that's one of the best things about doing it. And being able to talk, because otherwise it's just social media
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. True.
and reviews. So or of course also interviews such as yourself, hearing what people think. But yeah, it's nice to have that chat in the merch booth and to hear what people think. And yeah, and because you always sort of the music always means something to you when you write it and so on. But then people take it and make it their own and have experiences with the music, and it's always humbling when people come up and say that, well, this music is really important to me. It's helped me throughout a difficult period in my life and so on. So that's again really so I'm very happy that we can do that
Yeah.
and make music that people kind of want to listen to and feel something about.
Well, speaking of the opportunity too, it's interesting that you say it before too, because I feel like a lot of people would see you as quite, um, in terms of like just your arc and your trajectory, For instance, I really hate to rub it into my Australian listeners. Look, I'm pissing on both countries now. Uh, really hate to rub it in, but I had the chance to see you guys over at Arctangent Festival in the UK. And what
Awesome.
you're saying about the amazing festival, I recommend anyone who is considering going to a fantastic prog alternative post metal festival.
Yeah.
It's so good. But your guys' set, I'm sitting there thinking this is like it was that tent was packed out. People were running to you guys. You could not swing a cat in at any point in the floor. Just such a massive applause. And even online, you guys have generated quite a following. And it's interesting that that is the case, right? Like in the flesh, it shows and that sort of stuff. Yet you guys are still working day jobs and working in the evening. And I feel like maybe some punters who are in such an environment or at a big festival, like, whoa, these guys are huge. But I mean, it's a sad kind of truth, but you
Yeah.
guys are managing work and being in a band. Does that ever like get difficult? Like, obviously it would, but does that ever get especially difficult for you guys?
Yeah, of course it does. Also just when you grow older and have kids
Yeah,
and so on, and also you have like employers' expectations towards you,
yeah.
and but I think all of us have pretty understanding, both at home, but also
Mm,
our employers. But it's I think it's the sad truth about the music industry, and it's difficult to just make money of
mm,
music, and I don't know whether it's been sort of devalued slowly by streaming platforms, and AI is probably also going to make a dent
oh,
into it in
yeah,
some way. But I'm very happy to see like platforms like Bandcamp
yeah.
banning AI, for example, and but then of course it makes live music is something that can never really be
Mm,
replaced. And I kind of hope, at least to myself, that people prefer music made by people, and
yeah.
people who want to say something, and I think that's always going to mean more. I was thinking about one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, it's I think for us it's also just it's a it's something that we can, so making music of course is a hobby, and it's you have
Mm,
to kind of, in terms of the themes of the album, align your expectations with what reality sort of gives you, and in that sense you kind of have to adjust, because otherwise it's going to be a struggle, always hoping to you know uh, to like pursuing this maybe unattainable dream, but and maybe someday it will, that we can live from it, but otherwise we're just happy that we get to do this in our
mm,
spare time, and I think that's kind of what we always have to remind ourselves, that it's not every musician who even gets to this point, and there are a lot of bands out there wanting to get out there and play, and do it for the love of music as well. And I think
mm,
that's always something that we kind of have to remember and bring with us, is mainly for the fun of making music, and not doing money. Of course, I would like to make even more music, and that would be something that
mm,
being able to live of it would do. But again, not being able to live of music also makes you kind of free, in the sense that you could do whatever you want. You don't have to pursue the next thing that would went
mm,
really well in the charts and streams.
mm. And I think it's that I think it speaks to the music that you guys make too, the fact that while the harsh reality is it's not the mid 80s and you can't exactly pack into a touring van and just live the rock star lifestyle as much as like relatively younger acts. As you're saying, I think given that creativity and that ability to treat it as a creative endeavor, maybe also less anxiety on your guys' part. And I'm hearing that even though Dreamcrush, I mean, it draws on some pretty damn heavy themes. It's based on Schopenhauer and, you know,
Yeah.
existential futility and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's also, I just wanted to sort of say too, I think it's a real testament for you guys that you're making music that is heavy, but also emotionally kind of like it reminds me a lot of Astronoid, like it's
Hmm.
heavy, it's based in black metal, but there's a brightness, there's a like almost like a lightness in there as well. Is that something you feel like just naturally comes out of your songwriting, or do you feel like that's something you guys have worked to create, especially in the times we find ourselves?
Yeah, I think it's a good questions again. I think it's, yeah, it's become natural, at least in Møl, maybe in previous bands and sort of the stuff that I did before, not so much, but I think Møl has become kind of this um, musical project. You know, we're kind of exploring, you know, sort of the the middle ground between something that's very sort of happy and something that's very sort of sad and emotionally taxing. And I think that's sort of where sort of melancholy, in a sense, sits. And you're kind of walking this um, tightrope between the two,
Tightrope, yeah.
and yeah, and maybe you can fall into the at some point into the happy side of things, and at another point the more uh, the sadder part of things. Um, and I think also sort of the with regards to the melodies and sort of the melancholic aspects of the music, I think it's always just that it's sort of music that strives for something, in a sense, like either, you know, in the future, or retrospectively, longing back and reminiscing, and in a sense, that's at least some of the emotions that I get from it when I'm writing it and listening to it, and that's kind of um, the emotions that I associate with it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, no, and I think you guys have done a great job of instilling those emotions of tapping into that melancholy. You could even brand it yourself and call it melancholy. um,
I
but
haven't thought of
I
that.
do encourage people to check the album out. We're going to have that. We're going to have all the details of your latest release notes, um, album link, pre-order, all that sort of good stuff. I'd highly recommend people check it out if you're kind of intrigued by the little sort of feed drops we've put in here today. I'd definitely say it's an ambitious album, even for you guys. So it's interesting to watch
Thank
an
you.
ambitious band do an ambitious album. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the public response to it, and maybe one day we can nag a promoter or someone to get you guys over here, because I think there's a big appetite for the an Australian tour. But regardless of that, I do wish you guys well and enjoying your upcoming run of shows and getting the album out there in the flesh, because it sounds like you're keen to get it out there too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
We're longing for it. Yeah,
awesome.
and thanks so much for having me, and for yeah, talking about our album and listening to it.
No worries. And yeah, everyone check out Dreamcrush, and you stay warm over there, and I'm going to stay cool.
We'll try.
Thank you, Nick. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Thank
Bye.
you.
Master Brady has requested that I, C3PO, inform you that Moll's fantastic new album releases in a week's time on January 30th. See blog for show notes for young, single video, additional album info, artist links, music videos, Dreamcrush pre-order and more. These are the droids you're looking for.